In July 1861, the United States was rushing into a conflict that neither side was prepared to fight. Early military camps struggled with tight rations and insufficient housing. The ranks were filled with green teenagers who found the reality of military drills exhausting and tedious rather than glorious. These West Point cadets represent the rare professional corps available to the two armies. In 1861, these officers faced a constant struggle to gain basic obedience from volunteer recruits who viewed military hierarchy with suspicion. By mid-July, the Southern forces remained a collection of independent militia companies, lacking a unified command structure to hold them together under fire. Thomas Jackson stood out from his peers as a stern, deeply religious martinet. Throughout the spring, he focused on drilling his Virginia troops with a relentless intensity that most other brigades lacked. His men mocked his rigid behavior, nicknaming him Tom Fool. Despite the ridicule, Jackson's methods instilled an operational discipline that would soon face its first real test. July 21st, First Bull Run. Blue arrows show McDowell's Union divisions crossing the stream to threaten the Confederate rear. As defenses on Matthews Hill collapsed, B and Bartow's retreating units attempted to reform here on Henry House Hill, just as Jackson's brigade arrived. In this alternate timeline, the Union assault breaks Jackson's resolve. Instead of holding the ridge, he orders his men to withdraw and flees the field. As Jackson's disciplined Virginians turn and run, the panic spreads to the already exhausted troops of B and Bartow. Watching their most professional unit abandon the ridge destroys the remaining resolve of the other brigades, turning a precarious defense into a mass abandonment of the hill. With the high ground lost and the center shattered, the Confederate position becomes untenable. The organized defense fractures into scattered pockets of men as the Union flanking column sweeps the field. Order disappears entirely. The withdrawal turns into a disorganized rout, with soldiers discarding their equipment to speed their escape toward Richmond. The material cost is devastating. The Southern Army leaves behind its heavy artillery, supply wagons, and ammunition limbers, resources they cannot easily replace. These material losses are severe, but the lost faith in leadership proves impossible to recover. Without the Stonewall stand, the Confederate volunteers lose the standard of excellence that historically defined their early morale. Jackson's public disgrace undermines the authority of every professional officer in the service. Enlisted men, having seen a graduate flee, become increasingly prone to insubordination. When Lee eventually takes command, he relies on a doctrine requiring two distinct components. He needs a defensive anvil to hold the enemy in place, a role fulfilled by General James Longstreet. The second component is an aggressive, offensive hammer capable of rapid flanking maneuvers. Jackson occupied this role exclusively in the actual timeline. Without a disciplined offensive force to strike the Union flank, Lee's army remains static. They are forced into defensive stands that slowly exhaust their remaining manpower and supplies. The strategic consequences of the defeat are immediate. The Union victory at Bull Run leaves the road to Richmond open, allowing the Federal Army to advance before the South can reorganize. Seeing the rapid collapse of the Confederate defense, European powers like England and France maintain their neutrality, refusing to provide the diplomatic recognition or financial aid the South desperately needs. The war ends in 1862. Richmond falls years ahead of schedule, preventing the prolonged campaigns of 1863 and 1864 that would have claimed hundreds of thousands of lives. Jackson's presence at Henry House Hill provided the proof of concept for Confederate military organization. He demonstrated that rigid training could manufacture a professional army from a civilian population. In the early, untested days of 1861, the survival of a volunteer force could be decided by the visible resolve of its professional corps.